Hello everyone. This is the 19th part of the story, Marvel Unlimited Skills, I Can Download. Chapter 135, Talk. During this time, there was too much news about the Avengers. Although they did not have any relations before, what they did was the same in essence. The Avengers' duty was to maintain world peace, and Ancient One was the same as them. It was just that their enemies were different. At that moment, Mordo finally knew why Bruce was so powerful. After all, each of the Avengers had very powerful special abilities, and Mordo had to admit this. It was just that they did not belong to the same faction, so they did not have any contact before. Mordo, he's not an Avenger. At that moment, a smile appeared on the Ancient One's face as she said to Mordo. In fact, although she did not find out Bruce's background, she still knew what Bruce had done with the Avengers before. But she did not have any ideas on other aspects. This made Ancient One become more interested in Bruce now. This man's identity was very mysterious, and at the same time, there was a mysterious power protecting him, which made Ancient One a little vigilant. But her intuition told her that the person in front of her would not threaten her. And as the Master, her intuition had always been very accurate. He is not an Avenger, then who is he? At the moment, Mordo was stunned, but he did not say his doubts. In his eyes, Bruce's sudden appearance not only made him feel new but also gave him a strange feeling. Since his master, Ancient One, did not say anything, so he did not intend to explore it. Master Ancient One, can we talk alone? At this moment, Bruce spoke again, looking at Master Ancient One in front of him, with a smile on his face. It would be better if only the two knew what they would talk about later. Of course. Ancient One smiled, and then Mordo nodded to leave. It was just that he did not go far, but did other things around. At the moment, Ancient One was standing with her index finger and the middle finger together. Then a strange spatial fluctuation emerged. The surrounding space seemed to be like transparent glass, which shrouded everything. The powerful and mysterious power shrouded Ancient One and Bruce. Everything around them was isolated, although they could still see Mordo. But Mordo could not see them. This was space magic that could keep everything out. Master Ancient One should know that your great disciple might have caused great trouble to the next Sorcerer Supreme. At that moment, Bruce opened the door directly to the mountain and said this. This time, Ancient One was shocked by him. She looked at Bruce very surprisingly. What Bruce had said was what would happen in the future, but it was not present, and most importantly, no matter what, she would not doubt Mordo's loyalty to her. Of course, it was because that thing had not happened. Mr. Bruce knows many things, but everything has its own certainty. What we can do is to let him keep it. At the moment, Ancient One did not ask how Bruce knew these things, but she simply gave her explanation. Although she was very curious about Bruce, she understood that if she asked him directly, it might cause a bad effect on the future. In the past, whether it was the enemy or friend, an Ancient One always could know it in advance. But Bruce, who was in front of her, was really not sure. That's true. Is Master not planning to give attention to the big events that would happen in the future? You know that if you were there might be totally different results. What Bruce meant was naturally Thanos' snap. And he guessed that the Ancient One had absolutely expected this matter. There will be more excellent people to deal with it. And I have been guarding the earth for a long time. At that moment, the Ancient One smiled with a gentle face. She was indeed a person who had understood the meaning between life and death. Originally, Bruce wanted to make Ancient One become his ally, but it seemed that it would succeed now. No matter what would happen in the future, it was the choice of Ancient One. And the person she called more excellent was actually Doctor Strange. As for what would happen later, for a person who had guarded the earth and been lonely for such a long time, it already did not have any meaning. Ancient One was already very tired. Bruce could see it from the previous plot. Since Mr. Bruce knows so much, and you naturally know my decision and that I'm waiting for someone. At this moment, Ancient One first spoke, and she calmly looked at Bruce, which seemed to want to see through Bruce. But she was disappointed. Facing Bruce's calm eyes, she could not see anything. At this moment, Bruce nodded and lifted his hand. Boom! The origin magic power appeared in his hand and was constantly drifting. Then constant mysterious power appeared and shot out continuous light. The red light's color was like blood. It's the origin magic power. Where did you get it? Even if I put it on a very far planet, it was still advanced magic. After Ancient One saw Bruce's origin magic power, her face appeared with a hint of shock. As the most excellent master on Earth, she had a very rich knowledge and nothing could escape from her eyes. Of course, she could also clearly see where the red magic was from. There were many kinds of magic. The one Ancient One could be called natural magic, spiritual magic, and so on. This was the most normal magic. Although it was mediocre, it was very powerful. The mediocrity, represented by ordinary people, was not the weakest. And there was also the dark magic of dew, which seemed to be powerful, and even could prolong human life. But even so, the two kinds of magic did not have a better or worse, only their functions were different. However, origin magic power was completely different. It was the magic power that had spawned from the Big Bang explosion. Although it did not have any other special abilities, its attack power was indeed terrifying and it could be regarded as one of the most advanced magic. More importantly, the origin magic power was floating in the space of chaos, and humans could hardly practice. Unless he was a god. Although Bruce in front of her was an Avenger, it was impossible for him to get to the origin magic power. At the moment, facing the question of Ancient One, Bruce was very satisfied. If he wanted the Sorcerer Supreme to begin to trust him, the origin magic power was his most advantageous bargaining chip. As a master, how could she not take interest in this kind of origin magic power? This magic was derived from the mind gem. At the moment, Bruce directly said this. In fact, this power was actually Scarlet Witch's ability. But the witch's power was actually derived from the mind gem. And when Ancient One heard Bruce's words, she was stunned at first, but then she finally nodded. The origin magic power was not someone could touch. It was just like the power of Odin, which could not be touched by the common people. But Bruce had given her a reasonable explanation, which was the mind gem. As one of the most powerful 6 infinite gems in the universe, the mind gems possessed extremely mysterious power. Therefore, it was a very reasonable explanation that comprehended the method of practicing the origin magic power from the mind gem. Chapter 136, Sorcerer Supreme. There was no one knew more about infinite gems than Ancient One on Earth. She had lived for hundreds of years, so she had read many books and collected a lot of information. And almost all the secrets on Earth were in her control. Although the infinite gem was a very mysterious power in the universe, Ancient One still knew about it. Because the Eye of Agamotto, which was the time gem, was one of the most important magic weapons that the Ancient One used to guard the world. And Ancient One had a deep study on it. You come to me for the origin magic power in your hands? At that moment, Ancient One said again. She didn't ask Bruce how he knew about her existence. Although her holy place was very secretive, some people could find it through the slightest trace. Because she had taught many people. Although some of them were not her true disciples, they were all her believers. These people were very likely to reveal her information unintentionally. Moreover, although Bruce was not an Avenger, he had a close connection with the Shield. Therefore, it was easy for Bruce to know her existence. Yes, you are the most powerful master in the real world. And I'm afraid you're the only one who can lead out the magic power from my body. At the moment, Bruce replied. Although he was not keen on the magic power, he had to admit that such power was mysterious and had a great effect. Therefore, if he could get the ability to control magic, he would become more powerful. Bruce could do anything as long as he could become stronger. Especially as it was getting closer and closer to Avengers Alliance 3, and he needed to be well prepared. Because when Thanos came to Earth, 2 people, Ancient One and Odin, who could deal with him, would disappear. At that time, he could only rely on his own power. Well, I can promise to teach you how to use the origin magic power correctly, but you are not my disciple. At that moment, Ancient One said. She knew that Bruce was very mysterious. Although she couldn't understand his purpose, she believed that he definitely would not harm the Earth. She could teach Bruce, but she did not admit that Bruce was her disciple, which would avoid a lot of trouble. Because she could see that Bruce did not want to take some responsibility. Because responsibility was also a constraint. True strong existences did not want to be confined to a certain place, such as Ancient One and Odin. Thank you very much, Master Ancient One. Bruce smiled, then he leaned out slightly and stretched out his hand directly and was ready to shake hands with Ancient One. Ancient One was slightly surprised, but she also smiled and stretched out her palm. At the moment they touched, all the abilities of Ancient One were clearly presented to Bruce. Name, Ancient One. Identity, the Sorcerer Supreme, the Guardian of the Real World. Ability, Super Magic, Energy Value 50W, Super Spiritual Power, Energy Value 20W, Super Wisdom, Energy Value 20W, Spatial Transmission, Energy Value 10W, Thinking Extraction, Energy Value 10W, Astral Projection, Energy Value 5W, Heart Communication, Energy Value 3W, Spiritual Induction, Energy Value 3W, Magic Energy, Energy Value 2W, Psychokinesis, Energy Value 1.5W, Magic Shield, Energy Value 1.5W, Magic Hypnosis, Energy Value 1.5W, Magic Illusion, Energy Value 1.5W. When Ancient One's information appeared in front of Bruce, Bruce was shocked. Ancient One had so many abilities, and every ability was extremely powerful. At the same time, the required energy values were also surprising. Especially her super magic, the energy value was up to 500,000 points. What did it mean? Even the energy value of Thor's hammer, which was the terrifying artifact created by the dwarves and Odin, was only 200,000 points. But it was nothing compared with Ancient One's ability at all. Her abilities were too many and too strong, and each of them was very practical. The abilities even made Bruce dazzling. And only so many powerful abilities had created the most powerful master in the real world. Her power was so horrible that no one in Marvel world could do better than her in the use of magic. Even the later Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange, could not match. Because the difference was too big. At the moment, Bruce wanted to download all these powerful abilities. But he had not so much energy value, so he had very few choices. Originally, he thought that the energy value required by Hulk and Thor was already very amazing. Now he knew that it was because he had not seen Ancient One before. Downloading her abilities really needed an amazing energy value. More importantly, all Ancient One's abilities were complete. As long as he was able to download them, he could directly play the same power as Ancient One. And he did not need to practice at all. These abilities were really terrifying and powerful. Any ability that was put on anyone could make him become a superhero directly. But Ancient One gathered all of them together. If she didn't feel tired later and she did not want to keep alive, Caecilius could not be her opponent completely. According to Ancient One's abilities, almost no one could kill her. Even if the Master of the Dark Dimension, Dormammu, would not be able to occupy the Earth as long as the Ancient One was alive. And it can be said that in the later Wakanda War, Ancient One could directly defeat the thousands of troops on her own. Even Thanos, who had gathered 5 infinite gems, would be difficult for him to kill her. Because as long as Ancient One was here, it would be impossible for Thanos to collect all the infinite gems. That was her power and her invincibility. So far, she was the only human being who was able to compete with Odin, the master of Asgard. If she did not want to die, no one could kill her. At that moment, Bruce was shocked. He knew that Ancient One was strong, but he did not expect that she would be so horrible. At the same time, Ancient One had a lot of abilities, and several of them could be downloaded. But it was difficult for Bruce to choose which one to download. Magic shields, magic power, magic phantoms, each of them was very good, and these abilities were similar to his magic ball attributes, and they could be integrated later. But Bruce did not want to have these abilities. Because in his eyes, although these abilities were powerful, they were not the most suitable for him. And they were not the most practical abilities. Finally, he looked at the psychokinesis. This ability could also be called spiritual psyche power. Through his own thoughts, he could manipulate some objects and then control these objects to attack directly. And as long as the psychokinesis was strong enough, he could directly destroy a building without making any move. This was the psychokinesis. Chapter 137, Magic. This power was very mysterious, and it was also the only ability that Bruce had not possessed right now. He had been staying in the world for a very long time and had seen many abilities, but he had never met an ability that was like psychokinesis. Therefore, psychokinesis was his first choice. But this did not mean that what he owned now was less powerful than psychokinesis, it was that he had to constantly enrich his own abilities and avoid ability weakness. In addition, he had demonstrated most of his abilities in the previous battles. For example, the power of thunderbolts and his physical strength. What he had demonstrated before, his potential enemies in the future could search for their detailed information. Then his future enemies could use this information to make special plans aimed at his abilities. At that time, it would be very bad for Bruce. And most of the time, the most important thing for getting a victory in the Marvel world was to depend on some special abilities, which were beyond the enemy's expectations. So that it would be easier to win. Therefore, Ancient One's psychokinesis was the best choice for Bruce now. Then without any hesitation, Bruce chose to start downloading directly. Beep, the connection is successful. Beep, downloading the psychokinesis needs 15,000 energy value. Do you wish to proceed? At that moment, the voice of the system came. Bruce chose to agree directly. He had 17,000 points of energy value now. Originally, Bruce was very pleased with so much energy, but it seemed that his energy values were still not enough now. It could only download one of the abilities of Ancient One. Beep, the download was successful. Beep, congratulations to the host for mastering the ability of psychokinesis. The moment Bruce chose to proceed, the psychokinesis was downloaded directly with one click. At the same time, the moment that the system's sound came, Bruce felt that his mental state had changed dramatically. At the moment, his spiritual power seemed to be able to control everything around him. And it was not just that, as long as he was willing, he could make the psychokinesis become an attack. Mr. Bruce, what's the matter? At this moment, Ancient One's voice came, which made Bruce's look change slightly. Everything that had just happened was completed within a second. But Bruce felt that the 1 second was a long time. And Ancient One seemed to have noticed something, which made Bruce become more careful. It had always been very smooth when Bruce downloaded others' abilities before, and no one could perceive anything. But facing this Supreme Master who had supreme wisdom, Bruce felt that he'd better be very careful. It's all right, Master. Can we start now? At this moment, Bruce regained his calm and looked at Ancient One in front of him. The Ancient One nodded. In fact, she did not find anything wrong. Yes, from today, you can cultivate magic here. If you want to leave, we will not stop you either. But I only want to tell you one thing: the things between Mordo and the next master are already doomed. So I hope that Mr. Bruce can follow his destiny. Don't try to change that. At the moment, Ancient One's tone was a little pleading. Although she was very powerful, she had never relied on her power to coerce others to do anything. Bruce was very clear at this point. Since Master Ancient One was a real strong existence, she had the corresponding power, strong will, and moral character, which a stronger person should own. That was also why Bruce was not fully alert when he was in contact with her. Because a truly strong person was worthy of respect. Don't worry, Master Ancient One. The moment, Bruce said with a smile. And then Ancient One unlocked all the inhibitions around them. The outside Mordo also discovered this change at once. He looked at Bruce with strange eyes. He wanted to know what Bruce and Ancient One had talked about. Mr. Bruce will be our guest, and I will teach him the magic, but he is not a member of us. As for the library, it is also open to Mr. Bruce. At the moment, the Ancient One said this to Mordo. And when Mordo heard that Bruce would live here, his face changed slightly. He did not know what Bruce and Ancient One had talked about, but now it seemed that Ancient One really regarded the person in front of him as a guest. But he would not violate Ancient One's words now. He immediately walked to Bruce's side and said, "Mr. Bruce, come with me. I'll arrange your residence for you." Then Bruce nodded. It was already very good for him to live in Camartage now. Because for a period of time, he would not have much interest in the Shield, especially the plot of Captain America, Civil War and Ant-Man. And he did not want to give his attention to other things either. More importantly, another benefit of staying at Camartage was that he might have a chance to meet Doctor Strange. Then after that, he could also able to gain the trust of Doctor Strange, and even he was able to master Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange was a powerful existence. If he could control him, then it would be better. Everything was already in his plan, not beyond Bruce's control. It was just that Bruce still had some hesitation, which was that Master Ancient One would die in the future. And Master Ancient One had already known it for a long time. Therefore, Bruce was hesitating whether he should stop this. But Ancient One had been obviously determined. She had lived for such a long time, and maybe she did not want to continue to live. But on the other hand, Bruce still had an opportunity to change her idea. If it was possible to let the Ancient One life, then it would be better. Because Bruce did not want to be unable to download her ability again in a short time, just because she died. After all, Doctor Strange's growth still needed a long time. So why doesn't he download Ancient One's abilities directly? But he needed to replan these. While Bruce was thinking about these, he had been taken to his residence by Baron Mordo. "When you practice magic, my master will personally guide you, but if you have any questions, you can also ask me." At that moment, Mordo said this. He was a very helpful person before he experienced that incident. "Thank you." Bruce smiled and thanked him. Then Mordo left Bruce's room. From tomorrow, he could learn magic officially. Of course, Bruce was not interested in studying, especially because he had no talent for this. Compared to Doctor Strange, a magic genius, he was totally an idiot in learning. But it was already enough for him to know the basic knowledge of magic and read some collection books in Camartage. As for the magic, he just learned as much as he could. Because he had to hurry up to complete the task, he could get the energy value. This was the most pressing thing for Bruce now. Whereafter, Bruce opened his own property panel directly. Name, Bruce Lite. Identity, Level 6 Agent. Ability, War God Body, God's Bloodline, Godly Fighting Ability, Control of Thunder and Lightning, High-Speed Movement, Spider Telepathy, Body and Shield as one, Acer's Strength, Magic Ball, Body Illusion, Psychokinesis. Warehouse, Super Vibranium Shield, Mark Armor, Ant-Man Battle Suit. Balance, $200. Energy Value, 2000 W. It was really a new panel, Bruce smiled. At this moment, a sudden cold voice came from the system. Chapter 138, Function. Beep, congratulations to the host for unlocking the plot of Captain America, Civil War and getting the function of upgrading. When Bruce heard the voice of the system, he was shocked. The plot of Captain America, Civil War had already been activated, which was a major plot and a big event. Because of Bruce's promotion of the plot, it could be considered as one of his own activation and unlocking. Immediately, a message about the function of upgrading was infused into his mind. Later, Bruce had a general understanding of the new system's function. In short, it was the same as equipment upgrades, which could upgrade their own abilities with energy value. And the previous Vibranium Shield turned into a Super Vibranium Shield after using the energy value to upgrade. After the upgrade, the Vibranium Shield had been greatly improved in every aspect. Therefore, this new function was very powerful. Unlike the previous upgrading defective ability, this upgrade function was on the basis of the original ability to upgrade his existing complete ability function, and then made it become more powerful. But there was an important point that Bruce should give attention to. It was that if he wanted to continue upgrading the ability that had been already integrated before, he would spend a large amount of energy. But the abilities that had not been integrated just needed a small amount of energy value. For example, the War God Body that Bruce wanted to upgrade just needed a lot of energy value. But the power of the Thunder and Lightning did not need so much. In short, the stronger the ability was, the more energy value the upgrade needed. Moreover, in Bruce's new memory, his function of upgrading could evolve. After the evolution of the function of upgrading, it would become an ability awakening function. Yes, this function could awaken the abilities that he had gotten. After the abilities were awakened, they would become 10 times more or even 100 times stronger. This was the function of awakening ability. It was just that the plot he had unlocked now was not enough to open this ability for a moment. Perhaps when Bruce entered the plot of the Avengers Alliance 3, he could awaken this ability. Bruce was very much looking forward to this. He wanted to know how powerful the war god's body was after being awakened. Maybe it could truly compare with God. Even the controlling thunder and lightning would be also extremely terrifying after being awakened. At that time, even if it was the power of the thunder and lightning that Thor had displayed in the plot of Thor, Ragnarok could not be compared to his power. But now it was too early for Bruce to think about it. Now the most important for Bruce was to try this new function and see what kind of effect it would take. The system, upgrade psychokinesis. At this moment, Bruce chose to upgrade the psychokinesis directly without any hesitation. This ability was that he just downloaded, which was the same as ancient ones. At the moment, Bruce wanted to see how terrifying the psychokinesis could be after the upgrade. Bruce's current psychokinesis was not strong enough to attack, but it was already enough to destroy a car easily and even a high building. After upgrading, Bruce could take it to compare with the ancient ones. Beep, the energy value required to upgrade the psychokinesis is 1000 points. Do you wish to proceed? It needed 1000 energy values to upgrade its ability. If it was before, Bruce would never go through with it. But now it was different, and he really wanted to see the effect. Yes. The moment when Bruce said yes, a mysterious force rushed into his mind. Under the strong power, Bruce felt as if he was in the vast universe. Even though the stars were continuously rotating around him, he was like the center of the universe. Strong power continued to shake and Bruce was roaming in the universe. At that moment, not only his mind, but the seats around him were shaking. During the process of upgrading, Bruce clearly felt that his psychokinesis had been continuously enhanced, and it seemed that it had no limitation. Beep, congratulations to the host for successfully upgrading his ability. Beep, congratulations to the host, psychokinesis has been upgraded to super psychokinesis. No one knows how long it's been. At that moment, Bruce heard the voice of the system. Whereafter, his mind and thoughts returned to his body. Everything that he had just experienced was like a dream. At this moment, Bruce eagerly tried his super psychokinesis. And it was just one idea, then a kettle around him was broken directly. It was just also a casual idea. If it was his all attention, maybe building hundreds of meters high would be shattered by his idea. It seemed that it was the super psychokinesis in Chinese legend. Bruce was very excited about this great change now. 1000 points of energy value were definitely worth it. His psychokinesis was more than 10 times stronger than the ancient ones. More importantly, Bruce's current strength was able to melt together with spider telepathy. Therefore, not only could he feel danger around him, but he could perceive everything dozens of meters from all directions. Even an ant was walking, he could feel its move clearly. Moreover, after the upgrade, the super psychokinesis could continue to converge. And after the integration, more powerful abilities would be generated. It could be said that now Bruce had too many ways to strengthen his own abilities. When others needed to be very diligent to practice their abilities, what Bruce needed to do was just to download, then upgrade, finally integrate and wake up at last. Even if his abilities were the same as other superheroes now, after these steps, his abilities would be completely changed. Now I still have 1000 energy values. Which ability should I upgrade? At the moment, Bruce thought that the remaining energy value was not too much. Even if he kept them, he could not use them to download other abilities either. So why didn't he choose to upgrade his abilities directly and then focused on the task of obtaining the Ancient One's trust? But Bruce was hesitating about which ability he would upgrade. It was not that his abilities were all so powerful that they did not need to be upgraded. In fact, in Bruce's eyes, all his abilities needed to be upgraded. These abilities seemed to be powerful, but they were just that. Forget it. Upgrade the controlling thunder and lightning directly. At the moment, Bruce had made up his mind to upgrade this ability. After Thor, Ragnarok, Thor's every aspect would be strengthened. Especially in the later plot, Thor would be the most powerful hero after he had gotten the storm combat readiness. Of course, Captain Marvel was not counted. But at that time Thor was already strong enough. The controlling thunder and lightning were very powerful, and their attack power was extremely strong. Therefore, after the upgrade, it must be very worth it. At the moment, Bruce did not have any hesitation and chose to upgrade directly. Like the previous psychokinesis, the controlling thunder and lightning upgrade also required 1000 energy values. It meant that Bruce would use up his energy value, but Bruce did not care. The most important thing for him now was to become more powerful. Chapter 139, Multiverses. A blast of unknown energy suddenly and crazily poured into Bruce's body. This was a metamorphosis about abilities. With the strong power, Bruce just felt that his perception of lightning seemed to be stronger and closer. At this moment, the bright lighting surrounded him, which was like a silver snake. The metamorphosis of the unknown power even lasted a few hours. At that moment, Bruce was calm and seemed to be waiting for something. This kind of metamorphosis needed a long time, but Bruce had enough time now. Beep, congratulations to the host for upgrading your ability to control thunder and lighting successfully. Beep, congratulations to the host for getting a new ability, 10,000 thunder tribulations. Nobody knew how long it took. The sound of the system came, which made Bruce open his eyes in a flash. At this moment, there was a purple light in his eyes, and he was surrounded by a strong power. It was a great change. Originally, the ability to control the thunder and lighting was extremely incredible. And Bruce was not surprised at this point. At this moment, he seemed to be able to set off the thunder easily. Moreover, it was not a normal thunder but a terrifying thunder that was similar to the Eastern Thunder Tribulation. When he wanted to control thunder before, he needed to consume a lot of energy if he wanted to make a wide range of strikes. But it was not necessary now. Bruce could even burst out this kind of thunder more than 10 times in a short time. After the ability was upgraded, it not only strengthened the power of abilities but also made the link between Bruce and the abilities closer, which made him better control and use the ability. 2000 points of energy value helped him upgrade 2 abilities. And the 2 abilities upgraded were both much stronger than before. This also represented his strength becoming more and more terrifying. With his comprehensive strength, he was definitely more powerful than any Avenger now. Therefore, whether it was Thor or Hulk, Bruce was able to suppress them. Of course, he would still be very careful about the Scarlet Witch if she was fully awakened. After all, her chaos magic was also extremely powerful in the Marvel world, so it would be difficult for Bruce to suppress her if her magic broke out. But luckily, the Scarlet Witch was completely controlled by him and she would not attack him at all. This time, coming to Kamar-Taj was a very good opportunity for Bruce to improve himself. Especially after he contacted Ancient One, he realized that he could not be arrogant. Because the Ancient One was so strong that it was beyond Bruce's imagination. Her power was almost the same as the power of God. As for Thanos, if he did not have the gloves, his power was not as good as God, and even the Ancient One and Odin could easily defeat him. But now Bruce was not satisfied, because he needed to face a more terrifying opponent than Thanos after the plot of Avengers Alliance 3. At this moment, Bruce took a deep breath. During his time in Kamar-Taj, he needed not only to learn about magic knowledge but also to explore some of the world's secrets that had not appeared before. There were many books in Kamar-Taj, and Ancient One was full of wisdom, so it could be an opportunity for Bruce to improve his power. Then, Bruce opened his own panel and looked at his changes. Name, Bruce Lite. Identity, Level 6 Agent. Ability, War God Body, God's Bloodline, Godly Fighting Ability, Thunder Tribulation, Divine Power, Asur's Strength, Magic Ball, Body Blur, High Speed Movement, Spider Telepathy, Body and Shield as one. Warehouse, Super Vibranium Shield, Mark Armor, Ant-Man Battle Suit. Energy value, 0 points. As expected, he had used up all the energy, which was the energy value that he had been saving from the Avengers, Age of Ultron and Ant-Man's task. Originally, Bruce thought that these energy values could be used for a long time. But it seemed too little now. So he should get Ancient One's trust as soon as possible. According to Bruce's estimation, he could get more than 20,000 points of energy value if he could complete the task this time. At that time, he could continue to download the abilities of Ancient One. According to the system's tips, the plot of Captain America: Civil War has begun. That is to say, now Ant-Man's plot has ended, the Sokovia Bill is officially passed, and Iron Man will turn against Captain America. Bruce muttered to himself, analyzing what would happen in the future. He would not participate in these things, otherwise, the balance between them would definitely be broken. Although Quicksilver was still alive, there wouldn't be too many changes in the plot. Then Captain America would leave and hide in Wakanda. And Bruce thought that perhaps after the plot of Doctor Strange, he could go to Wakanda. Although there were no abilities he wanted to obtain from Black Panther, Bruce was interested in his battle armor, which was good and almost made of vibranium. Vibranium was the most terrifying material on Earth, and his armor was created by pure vibranium that Vision's body could not compare with it at all. More importantly, Bruce was also very interested in the technology of Wakanda, which was 1,000 years ahead of the world. It was said that the end of science was theology. Of course, it was just one claim which had not been confirmed yet. At the moment, the most important things for Bruce were to enrich his knowledge reserves and improve his strength. Because knowledge was extremely important in Marvel world. It was like the Illuminati in comics, which was composed of the most intelligent people in the world. Knowledge, sometimes, was also a force. At the moment, thinking of all this, Bruce thought that he still had a long way to go. Now he was in a movie universe, but it didn't mean that the characters in future comics would not appear. At that time, it was a true multi-universe. The enemies he would face would be more terrifying, and most of them would be more powerful than Thanos. Thinking of this, Bruce slowly breathed. Now he no longer thought about these but focused on staying in Kamartaj. Nothing happened tonight. In Ancient One's territory, even if something happened, no one would know about it. Because Ancient One could create a closed space at any time, the real world would not be able to detect it at all. And the next day, Bruce got up early. Today, he had a lot of things to do. And it was also the time for him to officially contact Magic. This marks the end of part 19 of the story Marvel Unlimited Skills, I Can Download. Thank you for listening. Please like the video and hit the subscribe button to listen more. Hit the bell icon to get notified of all the new content uploaded to the channel ASAP.